Okay, I'm going to get started by welcoming everyone. Welcome to Wat Tung Yu. Nice to see all of you guys here. Welcome to everyone who's joining us online as well. Today is our group learning program where each Sunday and Wednesday I come together with students as part of this program. We have other courses and retreats here as well, but each Sunday and Wednesday I come together and help students build a foundation in the path to enlightenment. What enlightenment is where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you'll no longer experience any discontent feelings. The Buddha figured out how to remove the causes and conditions that are producing things like anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind through training the mind. Oftentimes people think that these feelings are being caused by something external, but what you can learn through the teachings of the Buddha and independently verify yourself is that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. This is why you can actually eliminate them. If it was other people that was causing these feelings, you'd never actually be able to eliminate them. But the Buddha figured out how to actually train the mind to get to a point where you no longer experience these discontent feelings. His teachings aren't based in beliefs. You're not believing a bunch of things and then hoping something good happens when you die. You're learning and growing and developing in this life. You're doing this inner work, this inner growth, this inner development. It's also not about rules and commandments, and it's not rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer and things like that. Instead, you're training your mind. And meditation is an important part of that, but it's not the only thing that you would need in order to be able to get to enlightenment. You need much more than just meditation. One of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha is sometimes people think that he sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. And this isn't actually true. It took him 6 years to gradually train his mind to get to this mental state of enlightenment. So I'm going to guide you in a meditation session to get us started. And then afterwards, I'll just share a little bit of the teachings of the Buddha with you, because on Wednesdays, what I do is I just really open up to questions, just kind of have an open discussion with all the students who are interested in learning. Where on Sundays, what I do is I go chapter by chapter in this book, giving you a talk about what's in the actual book. So this week we're going to be in chapter 13, where each Sunday we advance in this book little by little. It's a 7-month program where I gradually teach people on Sundays and Wednesdays. And then there's other opportunities for you to learn too that we can talk about. If you'd like to join for the meditation, the way that I start this is with some chanting. This helps us to ease into the meditation and actually get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So if you would like to chant along, you'll see that your mind will get more benefit. And if you'd like to chant, I have sheets over there. They're on the cabinet. There's a laminated sheet that has the chants, and you're welcome to help yourself and get one of those chanting sheets if you like. And then if you chant along, you'll see that it improves the condition of your mind as you ease into the meditation. During the lifetime of the Buddha, they used chanting as a way to commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. This is how they actually learned his teachings, to be able to commit them to memory. So chanting was used during the lifetime of the Buddha as a learning tool or as a learning device, where today, oftentimes people think it's a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer. This isn't actually true. Today, we don't need to chant in order to remember the teachings, because we have books, audiobooks, videos, podcasts, things like this, but we still chant because it helps to get benefit out of the meditation, because it kind of helps to invigorate the mind as you're moving into the chanting, or into the meditation. So you're welcome to help yourself to one of those chanting sheets if you like. If you end up getting one and you read the English translations, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of this, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants himself. They were probably created by his students, either during his life or after his death. Because the Buddha wouldn't walk around and say, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me, right? This would be ego or arrogance if somebody chose to do this. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you don't put yourself above people and you don't put yourself below people either. You just view everybody as being equal. So the Buddha wouldn't have created chants and asked his students to chant these chants to him out of appreciation for him. But if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, and frustration and all these other discontent feelings to the peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment, and this teacher didn't want anything from you or expect anything from you, they were just helping you out of the kindness of their heart, you might actually have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for that person too. So that's why I think these chants came from his students, either during his life or after his death. After the chanting, I'm going to be providing you some guidance during the meditation where I'm essentially going to be teaching you and instructing you how to meditate while we're actually meditating. Then there's going to be a period of time of quietness where we're all meditating together. Everybody here at the temple and anybody who's joining online will just all be meditating at the same time. Now, during this period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear a car going by, a dog barking, a bird chirping. Someone here might cough or sneeze. Sounds like we might have a little bit of construction outside. When you hear sounds, if you're in meditation with a craving for permanent silence, you will cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated or irritated. This is what's causing your mind to be discontent, is it's craving permanence while you live in an impermanent world. Things in the world are constantly changing, but the mind craves permanence. So if you understand this, when you're in meditation and you hear a sound, you can be completely peaceful and joyful, understanding this is the way the world works, that sounds are going to arise, they're going to change, and then they're going to fade away. And you can just be at ease in your meditation. So during that period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds, and you can just be at ease during that period, understanding the world's working exactly the way it was intended to. Then we're going to come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And then that's where I'll just share a little bit of the teachings of the Buddha with you guys, and then really mainly open up to whatever questions you guys have. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times as part of your journey to enlightenment. It's kind of like having a tool belt, and you would use these different tools at different times. But oftentimes people are learning in the seated position. So I'll give you guys a little bit of guidance on this just to help you get started. That understand whatever I share with you, they're just recommendations, they're just suggestions. There's not just one way to actually sit in meditation, because this would be permanence, and we don't live in that world. We live in an impermanent world. So everybody's body is a little bit different, so you're going to find different things to be comfortable. What's important is that the body's comfortable, not painful and not luxurious, but in the middle where it's nice and comfortable. So if you'd like to use something that I'm suggesting, you can use that. But if you figure out something on your own, you can use that too, because you're training the mind. You're not training the body. So as long as the body's comfortable, that's what's important. So you could be sitting on the floor or a chair. Maybe if you're at home, you're on a bench or a sofa or in a wheelchair. You can sit however you like. If you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your rear. This will kind of help soften your seat a little bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you might just choose to do that lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, this can impede the circulation of the lower body and cause pain. Sometimes people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. So that's an option for you as well. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he placed this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it. But again, it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way. There's other options here. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees. Some people put their palms up. Some people rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. In terms of your upper body, it's helpful if this is erect. With the sternum up and the shoulders back, it'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched like this, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you're real rigid with the upper body, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be in the middle with the sternum up and the shoulders back. This will keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation, but it'll also make it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So if you'd like to join in the chanting, you're more than welcome to. For those of you guys online, you'll find the chanting sheets on our website at buddhadailywisdom.com. You can click on free books and then just scroll down towards the bottom and you'll see it there in the middle of the page where we have the chanting sheet. So I'll do the chanting to ease into the meditation. Remember, you guys are welcome to join. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Bhutang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang namasami. Supatipano bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vicacaranang sammuno sakato rokavitu Anutero purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusarang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled. Just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath. either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Potang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusrang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, good morning to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here. Sawadee Kap, Sawadee Kap. Welcome to everyone online as well. This meditation is called Breathing Mindfulness Meditation. This is a primary form of training that the Buddha used to move his mind to enlightenment, among other things that you need to know. But this is one of the primary tools that he used. This individual who we refer to as the Buddha, he was born in 563 BCE in a place that we refer to as Nepal. And then he taught in a place that we refer to as Northeast India. He ended up dying at the age of 80 in 483 BCE. And during the period of time where he was teaching, countless people got to enlightenment. What enlightenment is where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you will no longer experience any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind through training the mind. By the time you get to enlightenment, you'll notice that your mind is focused. You'll have concentration, clarity, and deep memory. Because what's keeping the mind in the unenlightened state are these different pollutions that the Buddha discovered. There's these 10 individual pollutions that are in the mind. And when you uproot those out of the mind will perform optimally, where you have focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. Because in the unenlightened state, you'll kind of struggle and you'll lack those qualities. By the time you get to enlightenment, all your relationships are harmonious. Your personal, professional relationships, they'll really be blossoming. They'll be at ease. Where in the unenlightened state, you're going to have a certain amount of bitterness, harshness, and hostility in your mind, and you're going to put that out in your relationships, maybe even thinking that those people deserve that. But instead, what you're doing is you're damaging your relationships when you're putting out bitterness, harshness, and hostility. And all of that is actually coming from your own mind. It's not coming from other people. And when you put that out, it all comes back to you. That's why you can look at the relationships where you have struggles and difficulties, where you're bitter and harsh and hostile. Those people are the same way with you as well. But when you transform your mind and you improve the way your mind functions, you'll be able to improve your relationships as well. Oftentimes when people are having difficulties in relationships, they think the way to solve this is to change the other person. You'll never actually improve your relationships by trying to change other people, because it's impossible for you to change other people. If those people are going to change, they need to decide to change on their own. But the way you improve your relationships is by training your own mind. By training your own mind, now you'll function in those relationships differently, where you can be loving and kind and warm and gentle. And now you'll see your relationships will slowly improve. By the time you get to enlightenment, you won't even be in a bad mood anymore. It's physically impossible for you to experience a bad mood. It just can't happen. That the mind's causes and conditions that produce those kinds of things have been uprooted out of the mind. So I'm going to share a little bit of the teachings of the Buddha with you guys to help you understand what he taught about this path to enlightenment. But then I'm going to open up to questions and just see whatever you guys would like to talk about, whether it's something that I've shared, something that you've come across on your own, whether it's something that you're seeing here at the temples in Thailand, or whether it's something you've seen other places. Maybe it's even personal challenges that you're having in your own life. We can talk about anything and everything that you like. When we get to the question period, if you would like to ask questions, we have microphones in the middle of the room over there in the white bowl. There's also some up here in the front. You can just get a microphone and bring it back to your seat. Press the gray button. You're going to see the lights come on, and then just hold this up to your chin and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then if you aren't using the microphone, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so that we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then you can just keep these microphones with you, because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can just share the microphone with them. And then for anybody who's online, you can put your questions into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section. I'll be able to see that. Or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions you like that way. So this individual who we refer to as the Buddha, he actually started out as a prince destined to become a king, and he stepped away from that life at the age of 29, and he trained his mind for 6 years. At the age of 35, he figured out how to get to enlightenment, and now for the next 45 years, he taught people how to experience that same mental state, and countless people got to enlightenment during that period of time. What he figured out is that the mind in the unenlightened state experiences what's called discontentedness. What discontentedness is conditioned feelings, that based on some condition, you're then going to experience a feeling. So for example, if you look outside and you get happy when you see the sun, that's a conditioned pleasant feeling, that the mind is happy when you see the sun. But the problem with that is that if you base your happiness on the sun, that means when the sun isn't there, you won't be happy anymore. And the sun is not permanent. So therefore, if you base your feelings on an impermanent or temporary object, then that means your happiness is not permanent. That's why you haven't been able to get to permanent happiness, because you're basing your happiness on some condition. So if it's sunny outside, you'll be happy. But if it's raining or some other weather event, you'll be sad or frustrated. And you might think that that's just normal because that's the way you've always lived your life. But the Buddha figured out this better way of life, how to live this better way where your mind can always be peaceful, can always be joyful, you can always be happy. But you can't do that as long as you experience conditioned feelings. Because if your mind experiences conditioned pleasant feelings when you see the sun, that means when it rains or some other weather event, you're going to be sad or frustrated. Or if you get really happy and excited when your bank account balance is up here, then that means when it goes down here, you're going to be sad or frustrated. The only thing that's happening here is change, that things have changed. But the mind craves permanence in the unenlightened state. Even though you live in an impermanent world where everything around you is constantly changing, The mind craves permanence, wanting things to be permanent. And you can't ever get that in this impermanent world. So for example, if you've been in a relationship with a boyfriend or girlfriend, and when you guys got together, you were really happy and excited about that. Maybe they were inviting you to the movies, to dinner. Maybe you're going to the park. Maybe you're having great conversations. Maybe they were calling and checking in on you and seeing how you're doing. Maybe you're even having intimate contact. You might have gotten a lot of pleasant feelings when you guys first got together. But then over time, the relationship started to deteriorate and you guys broke up. And maybe when you broke up, you were angry or frustrated, or maybe you were lonely or bored, or you were missing this person. This wasn't your love that was causing that. Love doesn't actually cause painful feelings. What's causing the painful feelings is the mind is holding on and craving permanence, wanting this person to be permanent in your life. And as long as the mind's getting what it wants, it experiences pleasant feelings like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, or euphoria. But when the mind's not getting what it wants, it experiences painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. So the mind in this situation at the very beginning of the relationship, it didn't understand this relationship is impermanent. It is not permanent. Even if you guys are together for the rest of your life, you guys are going to die. And now the relationship is over. And when the relationship's over, you're going to grieve and have sorrow and sadness. It's not because you love this person. Love is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. That doesn't actually cause painful feelings, but it's the mind holding on and craving permanence. If you've had people close to you that have died, like grandma and grandpa, or mom or dad, or brothers or sisters, or friends or family members, you might have grieved or had sorrow during this period of time. And while you may think that that's normal, that is normal for an unenlightened being. But enlightened beings don't experience that. What's happening is the mind is craving permanence. And as long as it's getting what it wants, it is happy. So if grandma and grandpa are alive, the mind's happy about that. Yay, I'm getting what I want. But then when you experience this impermanence, which is them dying, the mind is uncomfortable with that. It doesn't like that impermanence. It doesn't like that change. Or if you've ever been to a wedding, maybe you saw people getting married and you saw mom and dad crying, or brothers and sisters crying, or grandma and grandpa crying. Well, if you love the person, this is great. They're going off into the world with a new relationship. They're starting a new life. This is wonderful. You'd be cheerful. But no, there's people at a wedding who are crying because the mind's holding on and it's craving permanence. And now when they're going off into the world with someone else, the mind is confronted with the fact that your brother or sister, your son or your daughter is not permanent and they're going off into the world with other people. You might have seen this if you remember getting dropped off at school, or if you've ever seen children get dropped off at school. The children might be crying. The parents might be crying. Again, if it's love, you would like to see your child go to school. This is wonderful. They're going to school. They're getting an education. That's love, right? But no, mom and dad are crying. The children are crying because everyone's holding on and craving permanence, thinking that mom and dad are permanent, or thinking that the child is permanent. Let me give you an example that doesn't involve relationships. Maybe you can see it more clearly. Let's just say you had a brand new car and you really saved up money for this brand new car. And this is like your dream car. You've always been imagining buying this car for like 10 years. And you finally got this car and you're driving it off the parking lot. And everyone's like, wow, look at her. She's so successful. Wow, look at him. He's so successful. And you're so proud driving your car, and you park it at the store and you go inside and you come out and there's a scratch on your car. Oh my gosh, you might be crushed, right? It's not the scratch that's causing you to be angry or frustrated. And it's not the person who scratched your car. What's causing the mind to be angry and frustrated here is that it's craving permanence. It wants your car to be permanently beautiful, where this is not possible. We're not talking about what's wise or unwise, because obviously when we walk through a parking lot, we aspire not to scratch anybody's car. But the fact is that this car is impermanent. It's going to change. And if you crave permanence, when the paint fades, when the tires need to be changed, when the upholstery gets ripped and torn, you're going to be angry and frustrated because your mind's not comfortable with this change, with this impermanence, right? Everything around you is constantly changing. So one of the ways to say this, that the mind craves permanence. Another way to say this is that the mind does not like impermanence in the unenlightened state. It doesn't like change. Look at your life right now. Look at the times of your life that you were struggling, having the most difficulties. It's when things were changing. You were changing jobs. You were changing living locations. You were changing relationships. Something in your life was changing, and your mind didn't like that. And even though it was you making the decisions for that change to occur, the mind didn't like that because it was craving permanence. So the very first teaching of the Buddha is to help you to see that your mind is causing your own discontent feelings. Because if you can see this, that you're causing your own discontent feelings, it's very empowering. Because then you can understand that if your mind's causing these feelings, you can eliminate them. Whereas if it's everybody else who's causing you to be angry and frustrated, you can't ever change that. You can't fix that. You'll just be angry and stressed and having anxiety and guilt and shame and fear the rest of your life. Now, I'm sure you've been in knockdown, drag-out arguments with people, or you've been trying to adamantly convince them to stop doing what they're doing, or else you're going to get angry and you're going to keep getting angry. But they weren't the ones making you angry. Every single time you've ever been angry and frustrated, it's been your own mind. That's not to say the other person wasn't doing something unwise, because that other person could have been doing something unwise, but that's not what's causing your mind to be angry and frustrated. It's the mind craving permanence, right? So think about, you show up to the airport and you're really excited to go to Thailand. You just can't wait to get there. Oh my gosh, they have mango and sticky rice. They have massages. They have elephants to play with. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so fun. I just can't wait to get to the Thailand. And you show up to the airport and they say, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I'm sorry, ma'am. You can't check in yet. Your flight's 3 hours delayed. You can't check in. And if you notice anger and frustration arising, it's not the airline company that's causing that. That's the mind craving permanence. The mind's longing, yearning. The mind wants every airplane to take off on time. Well, especially the ones you're on, right? Everybody else's airplane can be late. You don't mind about that, right? But every airplane that you're on, you want that one to take off on time. But it's just not possible because we live in an impermanent world. If you travel enough, you're going to meet with delays because there's going to be weather issues. There's going to be maintenance issues. There's going to be crew issues. It's going to happen. It's only a matter of time. But if you're craving and longing, yearning to go to Thailand and you just can't wait to get to Thailand, then your mind's going to experience the anger and frustration, right? All the way on the airplane, you're going to be angry and frustrated. So you need to be able to see this in your own life. So none of the teachings of the Buddha are based in belief. Take a moment here. Think about a recent time where you've been angry or frustrated, agitated or annoyed. Could have been this morning. Could have been yesterday. Could have been last week. What was it that your mind was longing, yearning for? What was it that you wanted and you were expecting? And if you would have gotten it, you would have been happy. But because the mind didn't get what it wanted or expected, it was angry or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. If you can see this, you can have a real breakthrough to being able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. And this is very empowering, as I shared, because once you understand that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, then you realize you can actually fix it. Now, if you need help, I'm going to open up the questions here in a little bit. If you need help to be able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, let me know. I've had plenty of people over the years that needed help with this. I had one person contact me one time and they were like, David, I know that you teach that it's my own mind that's causing these feelings, and I need to talk to you because I'm sure it's my wife that causes these feelings. And I said, okay, well, what's going on? Tell me, what's happening? They said, well, I went to work the other day and my house looked beautiful. It looked so nice. And then when I came home from work, she had this craft project all over the house. And I walked in, I got angry, I got frustrated. Didn't she cause me to be angry? I wasn't even there. How did I cause my mind to be angry? She's the one who messed up the house. And I was like, no, it was your own mind. Your mind was craving permanence. You wanted the house to look exactly the same when you came home as when you went to work. You expected it to look the same. That's the craving for permanence. And this person
seeking a permanent state, which is maybe impossible as a human.
you can do the same thing. But if you relegate yourself to being angry and frustrated and experiencing stress and anxiety the rest of your life, then yeah, that's what you'll continue to experience. But there's a better way of life for you. And if you are interested in that better way of life, that's what the Buddha is teaching you how to be able to experience. And you can get to the point where your mind's always cheerful. It's always glad. It's always uplifted. There doesn't need to be any condition met in order for that to occur. In the unenlightened state, in order for you to be happy, there needs to be certain conditions met. If my mom and dad do this, if my brothers and sisters do this, if my boss does this, if the weather is this, if my bank account is this, if I have this kind of house and this kind of car, then I will be happy. This is going to shrink your ability to be happy. This is why some people are old and grumpy. This isn't the way that everybody lives life, but that's the way some people are, because they have all these expectations, all these things that they want, and they can only be happy if those things are met. That's shrinking your ability to be happy. That's one way to live life, but I would say it'd be very miserable to continue to live life that way. Evolving to this higher consciousness where an individual has trained their mind, you can be happy all the time. It doesn't matter. Your mind can be uplifted and bright and cheerful, having unconditioned happiness. And it's not that you're happy because your mom died, for example, because my mom died in 2017. I wasn't happy because she died. I was happy despite the fact that she has died, because my mind understands that she's impermanent. She is not permanent. Because she was born, she had to die. This is normal. So I wouldn't make light of somebody who's dying, but let me use this example. When you walk down the street and the wind is blowing, you're not upset or angry about that. It's just that the wind's blowing. And when you walk down the street and there's no wind, you're not upset about that either. You're just walking down the street. All that's happened here, whether the wind is blowing or whether the wind is not blowing, this is just impermanence. It's just change. The whole world around you is constantly changing. But if every time something changes, you get angry or frustrated, then your mind is not liberated. It's not free. So the only thing that's happening when someone is born and when they die is it's change. That's all that it is. But the mind's craving for permanence expects things to be permanent when in reality it's not. So the Buddha didn't teach everything is impermanent. What he taught is conditioned objects are impermanent. There's something called unconditioned objects, which are actually permanent. So you not chasing enlightenment, that would be unwise. You'll never get to it that way. But instead, you're gradually making decisions to walk closer and closer towards enlightenment through training your mind. And that's what will actually produce the enlightened mental state, where your mind can always be cheerful, glad, bright, and uplifted. And it's not because people are dying that your mind is that way. It's despite the fact that they have died, you can maintain your peace and joy because you understand that this is a normal part of life. People are born and people die. It's normal. The only reason why people grieve is because they're craving permanence and holding on and wanting things to be permanent. Do you guys have other questions? Yes, ma'am. Yep. Yeah, you have something, Keisha? Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Do you have a microphone back there? Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I sure
Yeah,
can.
good morning. Actually, when I heard about your sharing, you just talk about the past. You let go the past, but I'm someone that I'm worried about the futures. Because, for example, I'm still a student, and I'm worried about the thing happening in the happen in the futures. Just like I'm gonna to attend a candidate defense, I'm worried about that. If I fail the defense, what I should do. So I'm that kind of person that always worried about the futures and feel nervous. So things that I always under a very high pressure. So I want to know about your opinions about how to deal with the uncertain futures. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So let me show you guys an image here. Let me just switch over online so the folks online can see what I'm going to be showing. Okay, here we go. All right. So what each individual needs to learn as they're progressing on the path is they need to learn the Eightfold Path. This is the core central teaching that actually guides you to enlightenment. This is just an image, but behind each one of these steps, there's actual words from the Buddha that teach you and guide you how to actually train your mind. There's the wisdom section, which forms the foundation. Then there's this moral conduct, because there's a certain amount of unwise moral conduct that people oftentimes have in their day-to-day life and the way they interact with others. And as long as you cause harm through your moral conduct, this harm is going to come back to you. But then there's this mental discipline. And that's kind of like what you're talking about here, is that you need this mental discipline where you can control your mind. Because in the unenlightened state, an individual isn't controlling their mind. When they're angry, when they're sad, when they're frustrated, grieving, sorrowful, having fear or anxiety about the future or the past or anything like this, the mind is just uncontrolled in that situation. That it's experiencing these feelings, and there's the body, there's the mind, but then there's the person. The combination of these body and this mind is the person. So the person would like the mind to be cheerful and not experience that anger and frustration, but the mind is untrained, it's undisciplined. So the person needs to train the mind in order to have it be disciplined. So you need to be able to learn this, and I take about 2.5 hours to teach this entire teaching. If you're interested in this, I'm going to be teaching it next week on Tuesday, because there's an entire course that I'm going to be teaching. I don't know if you're around, but if you're not around, it's okay, because I actually live stream all the classes. So no matter where you are, you can actually learn. But if you can't even attend live, it's okay, because it's been recorded many times on our YouTube channel, on our podcast. We have books, audiobooks, everything's available at no cost for you. But this is where you would like to start. This very first book, chapter 4 and 5, details the Eightfold Path. You can get this by downloading it from our website for free. You can take it and go print it yourself if you like. You can get printed versions here by reimbursing us for the printing cost. Or if your country has access to Amazon, you can get it on Amazon. This would be the best place to start, because you need to be able to train your mind that when your mind's longing, yearning, and worrying about the future, you need to be able to cut that off and let it go. So what's going to allow you to do this is your mindfulness, is your awareness of mind. You need to be aware of what's going on within your own mind. And that's what you're cultivating through the meditation and through your day-to-day life of practicing mindfulness. But then you need to apply right effort, which is to actually apply the effort to cut off and let go. So as long as you allow your mind to long and yearn and worry about the future, it's going to keep doing that over and over and over again. Instead, you can transform this. You can get to the point where when you notice your mind is starting to long and yearn about the future and worry and have anxiety and stress, you can actually cut that off. But it really involves understanding this entire path. So that's why I would guide you to be able to learn this. That's the best place to get started.
So it means that I need to just live in prison, cut out the worried about the futures and let go the past. Is that right?
Yes, but your mind isn't going to be able to do that until you train it. But essentially, that's the core of it. But there isn't like a simple way for your mind to be able to do that. Like intellectually, you can sit here and say, yeah, I need to let go of the future and be in the present moment. You can understand that intellectually, but your mind actually won't do that until you've actually trained it with this teaching. You need to be consistently training your mind throughout each day, each week, each month, and each year to be able to actually accomplish what it is that you now are starting to intellectually understand.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Isha, you have a question?
Hello? Okay. In your example with the husband being annoyed at his wife because he came home and his home was messy, I'm just wondering if you could tackle that from a different perspective. Like, what if his craving is more on her wanting to do things his way, or like reading his mind, or just more from like a relationship perspective?
Yeah, it's the same thing. And by the way, it was the same gender relationship. So it was 2 wives.
Okay.
But nonetheless, it's the same thing. So let's just say the partner comes home and they throw a fit and they get really angry and frustrated that the house now has this craft project all over the house. And now the person who's at home that put the craft project, they get scared. Oh my gosh, my partner is angry, right? Because if the person at home craves their partner to be permanently peaceful, and they lack wisdom to realize they didn't cause their partner to be angry. But if they lack that wisdom and they think that what they did by having the craft project all over the house is what caused them to be angry, now that person at home, their mind's being conditioned to think, I need to keep this house spotless. And now they go running around trying to keep the house spotless, looking at their watch. Oh my gosh, they're almost home. They're almost home. I've got to put things away. And now they're putting all this stress on themselves to conform to what their partner wants and expects. Where in reality, that'll never lead to happiness and joy, because their partner is going to have a whole list of things that they want and they expect. And they can only be happy if they get it that way. So this is going to keep you locked in to the point where neither partner is getting what they want 100% of the time. And now they're both angry and frustrated and they break up. It's going to lead to discontentedness. Instead, what we can all do is each individual person can train their mind to understand impermanence. And when you go to work, don't have the expectation your house is going to look exactly the same when you come home. And when you come home and you see your wife has a craft project all over the house, just understand that's normal. And she's going to put it away at some point. It's not permanent. Just like the house can't look this way permanently, this craft project being all over the house, that's not permanent either. She's going to put it away. Right? So now we can all just use this space and understand just we need to be responsible, and that, we're not going to trash it. We're going to take care of it. But if we eliminate our craving for permanence, now everybody can coexist peacefully and joyfully. And that's what the mind ultimately needs to be able to do. So if this person at home has craving, desire, attachment, they're going to have a lot of stress and anxiety, worried about their partner coming home and when they're coming home and how the house is supposed to look when they get home and all that other stuff. And you're just going to feel uncomfortable in the relationship. You're going to feel like a prisoner in your own home. And that's where the Buddha is teaching how to get free of that, where now everybody can be comfortable to do things and not have expectations that they're putting on themselves or putting on other people. But that's not the way that people typically live. People are typically used to living with these expectations and putting this burden on themselves and experiencing anger and frustration. And we think that that's just normal. But once you start living this better way of life more and more, you can see that, wow, this works so much better. And now you can get to permanent peace and permanent joy. Yep, you're welcome. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you have a question too? Feel free to get multiple mics and then you guys can share. Yeah.
Good morning. First of all, I want to say thank you for, I got a lot of comfort by saying the sorrowness or the thing that it doesn't go as you wish. It's because how your mind is to craving permanent. So my question is, since you are saying everything's about your mind, how you think about things and you're trying to seek happiness and peaceful. You're trying to seek peace. But what if the joy and peace, it's impermanent and you feel like you're going into a circulation. So everything's not impermanent.
Yeah. So I know the enlightened mental state is permanent. It's a permanent mental state where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. These teachings that the Buddha shared lead exactly where he said they do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have given up my career to be able to share these teachings with all of you so that you guys can understand this path, right? I know with 100% certainty, these teachings lead exactly where he said they do. And it's a much, much, much better life training your mind in this way versus the way that you live in the unenlightened state. So it is a permanent mental state, but you can't chase and long and yearn after it. It's not the object itself that determines whether it's a craving, desire, attachment. It's how the mind relates to it. So let me give you an example. Let's just say you have a liter of water in your car and you're on your way to go hiking, and you park at the hiking trail and you walk 30 minutes down the hiking trail and you're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I left my water. And now you hurry up and go back to the car and you twist your ankle on the way, you sling open the door and you grab the water and you're like, water. Well, this person has a craving, desire, attachment. Their mind's longing, yearning for the water to be permanent. And when they realize that the water is not with them, that the water is not permanent, their mind was all shaken up by this and they rushed back to the car. But you could have a second person who's out on the trail and they also forgot their water. And they're like, I forgot my water. You know what? I'm going to be out here for a while. I think I'm going to go back and go get that. And now you calmly make your way back to your car and you get your water. So it's not the water that is the craving, desire, attachment. It's the way the mind's longing, yearning for the water. So the fact that someone's interested in attaining enlightenment, you can pursue it as a goal, objective, or interest. But if you get a goal and you're happy and excited and you don't meet your goal and you're angry and frustrated, that's not a goal. That's a craving, desire, attachment. That's the mind longing, yearning. That's a craving, desire, attachment masquerading as a goal. A true goal is something that you can gradually work towards with wise decision making. And if you accomplish it or you don't accomplish it, you can still maintain your happiness. You can still maintain your joy. Because if you understand the universal truth of impermanence, as soon as you set a goal, you already know that you may or may not accomplish this. That's the universal truth of impermanence, that you're not going to accomplish every single goal that you set out for, right? So if you put expectations on yourself that you will absolutely accomplish this particular thing, then that means sometimes you're going to be happy and sometimes you're going to be sad. But if you can train your mind to gradually pursue a goal, and now maybe you're 80% of your way there, and you're like, you know what? I could give myself more time to be able to accomplish this, extend my timeline, or I could add resources, give myself more ability to accomplish this goal. But you know what? I could also just be happy with the 80%. I don't need to go any further, right? And I'm just completely content with this. This is how you can train your mind to pursue a goal through wise decision making and not chase after it. And that's the same thing that you need to do with enlightenment, is not chase after it, but instead gradually make wise decisions to build up your wisdom, read books, come to the temple, train your mind through meditation, and gradually, slowly but surely, you can make your way to it. And it is a permanent mental state, because by the time you get to enlightenment, your mind has eliminated the conditions that are causing conditioned feelings. Your mind is now purified, where it's experiencing complete peace and joy. And you'll see this is happening for yourself. So it's not like you work for 6 years like the Buddha did, and then you instantly get to enlightenment. Instead, you're gradually training your mind, and all the way through that process, you're seeing improvement to the condition of your mind. So there are situations that you know that you get angry and frustrated about. And when you're in those same situations and your mind's not angry or frustrated anymore, you know it's these teachings and this training that's working to improve that. But eventually you will get to a point where it's been 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. There's no anger, there's no frustration, there's no agitation, there's no nothing in the mind in terms of those types of feelings. And you know that your mind's enlightened at that point, that you no longer experience discontent feelings. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful thing. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my question is, you keep talking about the other people can affect our feelings. Mm-hmm. But my question is, if I am the housekeeper and I am on my way to enlightenment and I don't have any feelings right now, so I think that afraid or any other emotions are preventing me from hurting. So if I am the person to hurt other feelings, because if I don't know that if I mess up the room, I will get my husband to get angry. But I don't know that I will get him angry. So I think if I have this enlightenment, I will hurt others' feelings. So what's your opinion about that?
When you understand the very first teaching of the Buddha in detail, called the Four Noble Truths, and you independently verify it, you'll see that it's impossible for you to hurt someone else's feelings. It's not possible. For example, you just talked with me, very polite, very kind, very respectful, right? I don't have any feelings about that. I just noticed, like, wow, she's polite, she's kind, she's friendly, respectful. But let's just say there was another person who was impolite, unkind, unfriendly, and disrespectful. I wouldn't have any feelings about that either, because that's just that person's choice. That's their decision. That's just impermanence. That's all it is. Some people are going to be polite, kind, friendly, respectful. Other people are going to be impolite, unkind, unfriendly, and disrespectful. I don't have to have any particular feelings as a result of that, right? So you can't cause other people to have feelings, but this is the lack of wisdom that the mind has. The mind thinks that it's other people, it's external circumstances that are causing you to experience a certain feeling, but it's impossible for anybody to insert a feeling into your mind. And if you go around being fearful of your partner, this isn't a very wonderful relationship to be in, because now your mind is having craving, desire, attachment, and you're having fear of your partner. How could you live a harmonious life together with someone that you fear? I'll give you an example of this so that you'll know. My wife, I'm married. We've been together with my wife for about 19 years now. Several years ago, before she had trained her mind, my son and I were sitting at the table in our eating area, and she came downstairs, and we had these cups on the table. And at that particular time, she used to do all the dishes. And out of respect for her, we used to get glasses of water, and we would leave the cup on the table for maybe 5-10 days, and we would just use the same cup so she doesn't have to keep washing cups over and over and over again, because otherwise it would be 8 cups for me, 8 cups for my son, 8 cups for her. It'd be a lot of cups in a day. So we just used the same cup all the time, right? For like 5 or 10 days. So me and my son were sitting at the table, and these cups were on the table, my cup and his cup. And she came downstairs and she's like, "What are you guys doing? You got all these cups everywhere. Why don't you just put them in the sink?" And me and my son, we just looked at her. And then she walked away, and I looked at my son. I said, "You know what we need to do, right?" He said, "Yep, I sure do," because I was helping him to be able to understand how to help other people. So what we did is we went and found every single cup that we could in the house, and we put them everywhere. We put them on the couch, on the floor, by the TV, on the table, on the chair. We put them everywhere, all over the whole house. And we just sat there and we just continued to talk. And about an hour or two later, she came back downstairs. And she came downstairs and she looked, and she looked, and she looked. And then she just quietly walked away, right? You could see her mind was rewiring, right? Where what we did is we created an environment where her mind could let go and realize that she's not going to control other people, and that she needed to train her mind to be peaceful and joyful if there are cups and if there aren't cups. So now she can be completely peaceful and joyful no matter what, whether they're cups or they're not, right? The thing that you're talking about, which would be unwise for someone to do, is if she came down and yelled and hollered at us, and we were like, "Okay, Mom, we'll put our cups away. No problem, no problem." And now we put our cups away, right? And now the next day she comes down, "Why are your shoes everywhere? Why do you have your shoes?" "Okay, Mom, we'll put our shoes away," right? And now, "Why do you have your book bags everywhere?" Right? It's like one thing after another after another. It's like a monster. And if you feed this monster, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So when people start putting expectations on you and trying to control you, the last thing you're interested in doing is giving in to that. But because somebody wants something from their life partner, they want money, or they want sex, or they want affection, or there's something that you're craving that you want from this person, your mind will bend to their demands in order to get what you want from that person. But this is unwise to do that, because if you do that, next thing you know, they're going to have a whole list of things that they're putting expectations on you for. I also learned this when I was a young kid. When I was 17 years old, I used to hang out with my guy friends a lot. I was hanging out with my guy friends, and my family came to me and they said, "David, you're spending too much time with your guy friends. We think you should get a girlfriend." And I was like, I was thought about it for a little while, thought about it for like 2 months. And then I was like, all right, well, let me go get a girlfriend. So I went and found a girlfriend. I got a girlfriend. I was hanging out with her. So then after a little bit of time of doing that, my family came to me and they said, "David, you're spending too much time with your girlfriend. You need to spend time with us." And I'm like, "Man, you can't make these people happy." right? Because they keep putting expectations on you. And if you feed that monster, if you keep feeding their expectations, they're going to keep putting expectations on you. So the last thing you're interested in doing is feeding someone's expectations and bending to their demands, right? Instead, you typically do just the opposite. That's usually the best thing to do, right? So I went to my family and I said, I would like you to know that my goal is not to meet your expectations. That's not what my life is about. I'm here to live my own life. You guys are living your life. I'm going to live my life, and my decisions are going to be different than you, and that's okay. That didn't stop them from still putting their expectations on me or trying to put their expectations on me, but I just ignored their expectations. Just like my wife, if she tried to put she doesn't do that anymore, but when she was putting expectations on us, we did just the opposite. And then that helped her to be able to see that her mind isn't going to get to peace and joy by putting her expectations on us, because that's what the mind in the unenlightened state does, is it tries to control other people, because the mind thinks that this anger and frustration you're experiencing is coming from something external. So what the mind will do when it's experiencing that anger and frustration is you will tend to push people away. You might have pushed away friends or family members in your life, and you push them away. And you can see that this doesn't solve your anger and your frustration, because you still get angry, you still get frustrated. If this person was the true cause of your anger, when you push them out of your life, you'd be peaceful and joyful from that point forward. But you can see that you're not. Or the second thing you'll do when you don't understand that it's your own mind causing these feelings is you'll be bitter and harsh and hostile towards people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. It's almost like an animal growling and roaring at another animal. That's what my wife was doing with us, right? Or the third thing you'll do is you'll put your expectations on people and try to pressure them or control them. That's what my family was doing, telling me what to do with my friends and who to spend time with. And if you give in to that, then you're just going to you're asking for more of it. But you need to be aware that your mind is doing this too. You're pushing people away. You are being bitter, harsh, and hostile. You're maybe putting expectations on people and pressuring people, and people might be doing this to you. And as long as you keep doing this, you'll never get to peace and joy. What it is the mind craving permanence and trying to get people around you to do things your way. And you'll never get the whole world to do things your way, because there's 8 billion people in the world, and they're not going to all agree that your way is the right way, and they're not going to do things your way. So the better way to do this is to train your mind to understand impermanence, and now you can experience peace and joy as you train your mind to get to that point. Mm-hmm. Yep, you're welcome. Yes, you have a question?
Hi, David. I'm very interested in the concept of conditional feelings, but I'm just curious that I know that if I know how to let it go and cut off all the attachments, maybe I will get joyful and happiness forever. But I'm just curious because I'm a very emotional people, and I think the reason I'm in this world is because of my attachment of all the planet and all the world and with other people maybe. So maybe I won't know why I'm in this world if I cut it off. Like, I don't know if you understand me, because I think I know if I cut it off, I will get happiness. But I think maybe it's the painful that makes the happiness more meaningful. So if there is no pain, there will be no happiness, and the joy and peace will be no meaning for me, because I'm just alone in this world. So is there a balance point in this two, or I just want to know how you feel, how you think about this.
Yeah, the Buddha explains very clear how you got into this world and what are the causes and conditions that are bringing you back into this world. He explains this very clear in a way that you can independently verify. So you'll understand plenty about how you got into this world through the training and the teachings of the Buddha. But you got to be really careful, because out of a few of the questions that have been asked here today, the unenlightened mind has all this lack of wisdom, all this justification that it tries to come up with of why this enlightened mental state is not better than what you're currently experiencing. And this is a common thing that people will say is, well, if I'm always happy, I need the sadness in order to appreciate the happiness. This is not true. That is wholly untrue, because you've been sad, you've been angry, you've been irritated plenty in your life. You've had plenty of heartache and misery. You don't need to keep experiencing that over and over and over again in order to appreciate the peace and the joy that the mind actually experiences in the enlightened mental state. So that's something that the mind will oftentimes do, is it'll try to justify its current condition in order to allow it to continue to stay complacent. Because in the unenlightened state, the mind ultimately is complacent. It really doesn't want to do this work, right? There's the person who would like to maybe experience peace and joy, but the mind's like, nah, we're not doing that. I'm going to stay stuck where I'm at. I really don't want to do this work. So the mind will come up with excuse after excuse after excuse of why it needs to stay doing what it's currently doing. And that's an option for people. They can stay in the unenlightened state. I'm not here to convince anybody that they should get to enlightenment. But if someone's interested in getting to enlightenment, they'll experience a much, 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 much better life in the enlightened mental state. But the mind will oftentimes put up roadblocks and obstacles in front of you and try to justify its current existence and its current condition. And that way it kind of relegates itself to this anger and frustration, and it never makes its way towards this enlightened mental state and experiences this better way of life, because it just continues to have this lack of wisdom, thinking that somehow this enlightened mental state is not as good as what they're currently experiencing. And that is untrue. What you're currently experiencing is anger and frustration and broken relationship and grief and misery and heartache and all those other things. That is miserable to live life that way. You can get to the point where you're always peaceful and you're always joyful, and you don't need to keep experiencing these painful feelings to appreciate that peace and joy. Mm-hmm. Anything else you guys would like to discuss? Nothing else? Okay, let me see if we have anything online here. All right. I don't see any questions anywhere. So I'm just going to end by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest to learn and understand the teachings of the Buddha. If you guys would like to learn more, there's plenty of opportunities for you guys to do this. There's opportunities for you guys to come here and experience all the different teachings where you can really get in depth, where today's just like a little question and answer period. And oftentimes there's not enough in just a short little session like this for you to really get started on the path. On Friday, we have a social event here at 6 p.m. It's called Temple Fun Night, where you could come and hang out with all of us. There'll be people from our community here where we play games, we listen to music. We have like a little party on Friday at 6 p.m. So you're welcome to come for that if you like. On Saturday and Sunday, we have regular classes at 9 a.m. You guys are welcome to come for those if you like. And then on Saturday at 1 p.m., we have an introduction to the teachings of the Buddha, where you're going to be able to get introduced to the teachings of the Buddha. It's a very good place to start. It's just a 3-hour course from 1 to 4. And then on Sunday, not only do we have a 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. class, but we also have a 6:30 meditation here where it syncs up to the Sunday night walking market, where you can come by, and it's a session similar to what we just did, where you can do some meditation and maybe ask some questions. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.